This is a show about facing fear, unlocking courage, and taking action.
Courage isn't necessarily a daunting thing.
It's going to give you more purpose. It's going to give you more drive.
It feels like making a courageous decision is going to get you closer to who you aspire to be.
It's knowledge plus faith plus action equals courage.
I think we all came in with expertise within our fields so we can hit the ground running. What that doesn't mean is that we all have to agree all the time. It means that we can all respectfully challenge each other to bring out the best in what is right for the consumer and the brand.
So I have an 8-year-old daughter, and she's going on, insert, you know the answer. Like, we joke in my family that I have a narc who's 11, and I have someone who needs to be narked, and she is... She will be 9. These are my children. And as much as we say to my son, don't parent her, that's not her job, secretly we're like, please keep parenting her. And Jeremy Lowenstein, I got to tell you, first of all, it's great to see you. I miss you, man. San Diego lost when you moved to LA, but I get why you did it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. A man of the world. I can be anywhere we need to be.
Well, talk to me. So you're in LA. You've been in LA for how long now?
I've been in LA for 3 years now.
So we're hitting 1,000 days of LA.
Thanks for that perspective. 1,000 days. Very different than 3 years.
And this concludes the Courageous Podcast. I hope everyone enjoyed the episode, right? So you're now at Milani, and it's really cool to watch, your trajectory. And the universe should know that Jeremy and I, there's many labels, right? Like, there's been times when you've been like a family member. There's been times when you've been a friend. There's been times where you've been a client, right? We've worn lots of different hats. I know too much. But talk to me about how long you've been at Milani and why you felt like, oh yeah, like this feels good for me.
Yeah. So I've been with Milani, actually just hit my 3-year anniversary, which is actually crazy. So I guess I've been in LA for about 3.5 years now. Why it felt good for me. So, I had left the beauty industry for a short stint. And when Mary Von Prague, who's our CEO, and I reconnected, we worked at Coty together back in the early 2000s. She was on the sales side and general management side. We reconnected, and this just felt like a natural fit. It's a space I know quite well, being back in beauty. And for me, why Milani was sort of an interesting case was at that point, it was a 20-year-old brand when I joined. It's private equity owned, but it felt like there was so much untapped potential. And that's what I love about marketing. It's about storytelling, something that is already probably there in its foundation, and how do you just bring that to life for the next generation of consumers without alienating its existing core. And it has been the right time, right place for Milani to really shine in the marketplace.
I mean, this is almost an unfair question because you've been there over 1,000 days, as we've established, but usually when people leave a category, they leave a category. And yet you came back. So try to go back to that moment when you said, this feels different for me. What was it about it? And by the way, maybe if you can even go back to then, was there fear about returning to the category, or were you like, oh no, I'm home. Let me go back to this. Here we go.
I think marketers always have a little bit of a fear of staying in the same business, in the same category. But I think what has kept me in beauty for over 2 decades is that it is a business built on true consumer insight and emotion, with still having the science piece of this, because it is still very data driven. So there was nothing scary about it for me. I've had the good fortune of working across all categories within beauty, from hair to skin to men's grooming, fragrance, cosmetics, to all different channels. They all present very unique opportunities and challenges, and that's how I look at it. And what excites me about a job is getting up in the morning and knowing there's something new to tackle. Once you start to stagnate, or you feel like you've fixed all the problems, which I don't know anyone who's ever said they've fixed all the problems,
I'm done. I'm
That's
done.
when you know it's time to move on. But for me,
Yeah.
3 years in, I wake up every day and there's an exciting new challenge sitting in front of me, across all the different verticals I get to play in within my role, because my role is definitely unique. It is not just marketing.
Oh, give me more. Tell me more. What does that mean?
So I here, so like, yes, my title is CMO, but and I hate titles. But I oversee product development, marketing, creative, our Amazon business, our D2C business, and then I'm the general manager of international. So I get to work with 40 different countries on how Milani takes shape, and resonates within those different marketplaces.
So I mean, what's cool is it is an American beauty brand, but
It is
you get,
California born.
so yeah, why do you think you jumped on this train, and is it what you thought it would be?
I jumped on the train because like I said, I think that the Milani was the diamond in the rough. Tons of opportunity, um, and then the people. I knew what I was getting into from a leadership organization. I knew some of the people who actually were going to be on my team. So that being a noti made it even more seamless and comfortable to walk into. But what I have found interesting about, like I said, right time, right place for Milani's explosive growth is if you go back to why the brand was started, it was started, in 2001 by a brother and sister who are LA based, originally from New York, whose father owned another cosmetics brand. They saw this opportunity in the marketplace to address two different challenges. One was affordable luxury. Why do you have to spend 40, 50, $60 on a beauty product when you should be able to like, everybody should have access to that and not sacrifice on product performance? But second, the original target consumer for Milani was actually Black women, because they said they were the underserved in the mass color market. Typically, those consumers would have to mix different products specifically in the complexion area, so foundations and concealers and blushes. There was nothing designed for them. So that's how the brand was originally positioned. Fast forward to today, the brand is still all about accessible luxury. We are really one of the only brands in mass color that sources our formulas from the same guys who do, all the prestige brands that you know and love that are sold in Sephora, but you get to buy them from us at, Ulta, Walmart, Target, Amazon. And we just, strip back on some of the packaging elements. So bring out some of the cost, don't touch, never sacrifice product quality. But we're also now the leading multicultural brand, because today consumers are looking for brands that look and talk like them and they feel seen. Milan and a lot of brands have had to play that catch-up game on, hey, we're actually inclusive in how we develop and offer products, specifically in like foundation. Not everyone's skin tone is the same. Milani had always been there from day one across everything we've done. So there hasn't been this need for me to go in and say, we're shouting from the rafters, Milani is inclusive. Those who know us actually already knew that. And now with, I look at why we took off what we've done during COVID, and since then, is that our platforms like TikTok, who've helped be the megaphone for us as consumers get to authentically talk about. If you didn't know Milani, you should, because their product is the same as the Tom Fords and Charlotte Tilburys of the world, but it also works on my skin tone. We have the right blush and the right pigment level to work across everything, and that's how we develop. We develop those consumers in mind. So it's right time, right place, as consumers have shifted their mindset on how they shop, why they shop, and what's important to them in terms of brand value sets.
Again, because we know each other, I'm smiling on this side that you can focus on what I will call the right things, like you're thinking about the consumer, and this is not it is like you talked about. We always have problems. There's always gonna be some problem,
Always something.
something on the table. But like the more the more I talk about the idea of courageous ideas, the more I've realized courageous ideas die without courageous leaders. Like, if you don't have a courageous leadership team, good luck on getting a courageous idea through. And it's, Berman, typical classic metaphor speaking, right? Like, the first time around the monopoly board, I often find it's about hey, is this a courageous team? Like, do they have the mindset needed to accept a courageous idea? Like, so that first, let's say the first year, you knew some of the players, you knew
Yep.
what you were stepping into.
Yep.
Um, I mean, I'm assuming this is one of the reasons that you went, is that there'd be more green lights than yellow lights and red lights.
Yeah, I think there's inherent trust that comes in with people you already have a relationship with. I think we all came in with expertise within our fields, so we can hit the ground running. What that doesn't mean is that we all have to agree all the time. It means that we can all respectfully challenge each other to bring out the best in what is right for the consumer and the brand. And I think that's what makes us a better, stronger team and also allows our teams underneath us to work better cross-functionally.
So I mentioned I started the show with my 8-year-old who's going on 18, and this is, I mean, I'm just telling you my truth is that I grew up, my house should have been bubble wrapped, bubble taped growing up. Like it was all boys, sports around the clock, and the universe decided to give me this little girl and like really open my eyes to another world. And there'll be times that we're watching sports. I force her to watch sports with me, Shock, and she'll be like, "Daddy, is there a girls' sport of that?" Or "Daddy, are they even?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah." Like she's got the fire, she's got the competitive, but like I love that she's opening up my perspective to that. And you guys have done so much work in the Olympics right now, which has been cool to watch. Can you share a little bit about how that partnership happened and what you're trying to
Yeah,
accomplish?
it's actually, I know you've dabbled a lot in those conversations and athletes and their performance and what makes them courageous. And um, it actually started a year ago. You know, at first I'd like to look at what's our product mix, where are we going, where do we need to focus? Milani has had a setting spray, it's called Make It Last, since 2017. And setting spray, I know you're probably not a user, is actually used to locking your makeup. So makes your makeup last longer. Now, it has not always been the go-to tool for, makeup wearers. It has actually been in the arsenal of most makeup artists. And over COVID, as people were watching TikToks and content, this category was growing pretty rapidly. And Milani has had the #1 setting spray in the mass category. So we're the number with Make It Last Original. So it's our natural finish setting spray. The original claims behind that product was a major makeup last for up to 16 hours. It's an amazing claim to be able to make. So now backtrack to call it a year and a half ago or so. We were watching TikTok videos like everybody else does, and there were a few different consumers who were posting videos saying that their makeup was lasting longer than 16 hours and was lasting almost all day long. One girl actually woke up from like falling asleep in her makeup and said, like, what is the sorcery that I have put on my face that has allowed my makeup to last through the night? And so we actually had this like moment internally and said, hey, if our consumers are getting our product to last longer, maybe we should go back out and retest the product. So we did. We went back out, retested the product, no formula changes, and the claims came back, and we're able to say that the product helped your makeup last for up to 24 hours, sweat proof, waterproof. We're like, that's pretty massive. We're the only one in the mass market. So I said, how do we start to actually like where are the synergies and adjacencies within the consumer world that could put that to the test? And it was really in endurance sports. So the actual first partnership that we did to start to roll out this new concept was with Barry's Bootcamp. So we actually we did a partnership with Barry's in New York and LA. We brought 100 creators and influencers and editors to a boot camp class, private. Said, hey, come with full face, and then we're going to give you setting spray. And if you can survive a Barry's class, like you're running for 30 minutes, you're lifting for 30 minutes, your makeup's intact after that, it must tell you something. And they loved it. So there's something here around endurance and athletes. And obviously, we knew the Olympics were coming. But for me, it wasn't actually about the Olympics. It was actually about women in sports. And the Olympics happened to be a nice milestone to sort of launch around. But women in sports have obviously continued to grow in popularity. I think everybody knows that, with the NCAA tournament, women's final this year had actually more viewers than the men's final for the first time ever. And I loved to see that. Again, it takes courage to lean into, a category that people haven't always traditionally partnered with, or partnered with the most unexpected types of athletes even. So we worked, so what does this look like? Who are the athletes we want to partner with to help demonstrate that the product is all, an endurance product, but also that there's something a little bit more there of this is a physical and a mental challenge. When your face is set, your mind is set. So again, what does self-confidence look like when you go out into the world? Whether you're an athlete, whether you're just power walking, whether you're going to work, whatever it is. And we wanted to find athletes that already knew Milani, because again, that's super important for me as a marketer. I look for authenticity. I want there to be an organic fit with the brand, with whoever the endorser is, because then it becomes more authentic and more relevant to their audience. So we ended up partnering with four amazing athletes. Jordan Childs, who is now a gold and bronze medalist, former silver medalist for the U.S. gymnastics team. She's amazing. Why I love Jordan is when we approached her, it was the fastest yes I've ever received. And the reason was because she's used used Milani since she was a teenager. Her sister is actually a makeup artist, and the two of them told me that Milani is the only brand that they had really used because it was the only brand that had product that worked for their skin tones. And I was like, this is just too easy now. It's a natural fit there. Then we went to Sabrina Ionescu, who plays for the New York Liberty. She's not a heavy makeup wearer. She's like the no makeup girl. But again, for her, she's very dominant on the basketball court. And setting sprays, again, locking in that look for her. And she is super confident when she's out there. Then we go to the two unexpected sports. So indoor volleyball. Everyone loves to talk about beach volleyball. Indoor volleyball is also just as hard. You're on hard court. And we have partnered with Chiako Obagu, who is actually about to go for her. They're going for gold on Sunday. So I'm super excited for them. And this was her first ever partnership. And she is a big makeup junkie and loves Milani, same thing. And then the fourth is Maddie Rogers. And Maddie, unfortunately, because of an injury earlier this year, wasn't able to compete in the Olympics, but she has in Tokyo. And she's an Olympic powerlifter. Now, most people would not expect you to partner with, like, where's weightlifting? Talk about an engaged audience. Her fans and followers are so involved in everything that she does. And the engagement that she has in conversation and dialogue is very authentic for her. So we brought the four of them together, and out came this Face Set Mindset campaign that we debuted in June.
Layers and layers on this. I mean,
So many things to unpack.
Yeah, well, Jordan is really interesting to me because, I mean, all four of them are, but like, first of all, I'm reminded of the old famous line that we sometimes say in marketing, that nothing kills a mediocre product faster than great marketing, and like that's not the case here. Like you're at a place where the very best in the world who want to remain the very best in the world want to use the very best in the world. And so you've got this potency to the product that lets them focus on the right things and leave everything else to the side, which is cool because you're affordable. So it's like you don't usually see luxury and affordability playing in the same
Nope.
literal arena, and here we are, they're playing together.
Yeah.
Have those conversations come up? You're like, wait a minute, maybe we need to like stay disciplined on luxury, or is that never in the consideration set?
No, I think for us, that is our positioning. I think there has been this shift in the consumer mindset. Again, it's fascinating to see the impact of COVID and how that has accelerated channel dynamics. When you couldn't go to a store, everyone's on the virtual store at that point. So now you're cross-channel shopping, and consumers are making strategic choices about what's important to them against every specific product category. So they don't want to sacrifice quality, but they also don't necessarily want to have to spend and break the bank to get that product. And Milani slides right into that sort of that into that Venn diagram right in that middle really nicely. So for us, we've always continued there. And again, if you go back to what my journey has been like with Milani in 3 years, one of my sort of first like opportunities with my team was, hey, if we want to be the luxury brand at mass, we have to show up like that. So I have an amazing team internally. We reshot the entire brand. So all of our packaging, all of our product photography, all of how we show up in store, because until you sort of have your house in order, it's hard to make your big debut again. So it took us 2 years to do that, and now we are out there, and the way we look is the way we actually deserve to, because that's how we should be presented.
I want to be careful with this because I know last lives, but how refreshing is it that I mean, are you relieved a little bit that you could actually, you kind of knew the playbook that you wanted to set, and it wasn't like your own brand, like you're following the data, obviously, and you trust your team,
Yeah.
but there have been places in the past where you haven't been able to like spread your wings and do the things that you know you needed to do. So is there any relief from you whatsoever on this one?
Yeah, I think there's always relief, but I think that I've in my wise old age, I have learned to I've learned to like take a step back and say, what have I actually learned from all of my different careers? And um, how have those roles made me a better leader, manager, and marketer today? And I go back to why Milani works internally is this inherent trust and respectful dialogue that happens. And I think that's important to be in that environment, um, because it builds your own personal self-confidence, it builds the confidence of the team, and allows you to run at a pace that feels right for you and for the brand, and to build that momentum. And look, when I joined Milani, there were so many things that we needed to fix, and that's okay. Today, we are now 2 years running the second fastest growing brand in mass color in the top 10. Like, we're the number 7 brand in eye, lip, and face. Like, that's a pretty big statement to make. And there's fewer than 100 people in the whole company.
Um, I'm not gonna. I can't see me not asking you the question about what you learned or what you've taken from like 2 or 3 of the last gigs. So,
I,
but I'll give you a minute to think through your
I
answers
haven't.
on. Okay, so I'm gonna give you a couple seconds. By the way, it is so much easier to, I'm air quoting, fix something when everyone's aligned that something needs to be fixed. And when people are afraid to admit that something needs to be fixed, then you're using your strategy chops to try to figure out how do I present this in a way where I'm not going to upset somebody or
Yeah,
offend somebody versus just the reality of like, hey, we need to, it's almost matter of fact. And that is the trust that you were talking about.
yeah.
While you're thinking of your answers, I have to share this because I'm thinking about so Kimberly Voorhees is on my team. What's up, Kimberly? Huge shout out. She was telling me a story the other day that when her teenage daughters saw that you were coming on the podcast, that they got absurdly giddy. They saw the
Why?
Milani logo, and they're like, "Yes, please. I want Milani lip oil for Christmas for the
I
stockings."
knew you were going to say it was lip oil. Lip
So,
oil has been like, it's fascinating. Again, there is a makeup is an art and a science. Lip oil is a category we essentially created about 2 years ago. We were really the first to market in mass with our fruit fetish lip oils. They are highly addictive and like huge. I'm only as successful as I am because of the team that I get to work with. And my product development team and my marketing team and my creative team, they are like best in class. And because we get to run with the prestige brands in terms of our innovation strategy, we get to come out at the same time that they do. And lip oil is one of those examples. We actually launched roughly around the same time that Dior came out with their lip oil. And our lip oils are $10. They are literally addictive flavors, everything from we have a passion fruit one, we have a strawberry melon, cocoa, cacao, honey fig. Honey fig is my personal favorite. and it gets you to use them over and over again. And we literally could not keep them in stock when we launched them. So it's an amazing problem to have. And usually when I meet people who know of the brand, that is now one of the first things. They're like, "Oh my God, we need your lip oil." So it is it's a good thing to have that. But there's also this, you know, makeup is getting used by, and so in skincare, by younger and younger consumers every year because of social media. And it's been fun to watch my friends' kids and who are 12, 13 now, and I go visit them, and I about a year ago I was visiting a camp friend of mine, and I went in to see him, and he's got a 12-year-old daughter, and her friend was there, and he's like, "Hey, can you come come sit with them, meet them?" And they pulled chairs around as if I was going to tell them a story. And they they pulled out their phones and like, "Do you know this influencer? Do you talk to this person? What do you think about niacinamide? And what do you think about hyaluronic acid?" I was like, "Can you even spell those words? And how do you know what they are for you?" But it is this, there is a culture of craving this content and now the product that is just, it's taken on a life of its own. So it's amazing.
Yeah, I'm reminiscing. The girls know like exactly where the Milani section is at the Ulta Beauty store. Like they know exactly where to go. I'm
Nope,
sure I'm going to get an email asking for some swag. I'm just letting
it's
you know it's
fine.
coming. It's coming.
Ready.
All right, so let's go back to this. You know, you're rock skipping across the pond here, right? You've landed in a good home, but and not that the other places weren't good too. They were great places, but like,
Right.
what did you take with you? Give me like the one thing you took with you.
Yeah.
Just pick two or three of them if you want.
Sure. I think part of them are skills. Like I've been very like I'll think about my personal growth over the 2 decades. I'm somewhat methodical in the types of roles I want to go into because there's the brands that I want that I love and want to, would love to work with, but there's also specific skills. Like I've methodically chosen that I can work across different categories. I'm not a makeup expert. I have done the entire beauty industry. I've worked cross channel. So, either working for pure play direct to consumer businesses or businesses that play in prestige plus Amazon and direct to consumer versus pure play brick and mortar, working on the international. So I think my last few roles have given me those types of pieces to help round out my own personal skills and knowledge base. Um, and really thinking about like more general management in that style. Um, I think the other piece that I've learned is I've now had, I think, the fortune of working across different size organizations. I've gotten to work with the Estee Lauders and the Codys of the world of 20,000 plus people down to, Kopari and MeUndies where they are still founder led or VC backed or, PE invested in. Um, and now with Milani where we're PE owned, they're all unique. And I think what I have taken away from those in terms of, I'm going to call it my leadership and strategy functional area is what do I bring to the table that management, either my CEO, the founder, the board, can most benefit from so that I can help guide them through the next chapter of that brand. And also, where can I also learn the most from whether it is the board or even the teams around me that I may not have had that experience before? So if I think about MeUndies as an example, it was my first stint in apparel. I learned a lot about that. Having, working opposite a chief merchant is very different, not having product development oversight. So I got to learn more about what that meant and being a pure play D2C brand versus being an omni-channel brand. Um, so I take away a lot from all those different experiences, and I think that just hopefully makes me a better, stronger leader today.
You made a little quip earlier about in your old age, and come on, man. Like, let's be. But
I
do
just
you feel?
grayer. I just get grayer by it. It's fine.
Now I'm jealous. I
Just
wish I
lean
could be
into. You just have
grayer.
to lean into it. All of these brands are now coming out with hair color. The sophistication of the hair color for men that's come out there, and it's not just for men anymore. And everyone's like, "Are you dyeing your hair gray?" I was like, "Nope, that is all natural. It's fine."
But I'm curious if you feel that I mean, use the word guide, right? And when you don't have to like prove yourself, when you could just be yourself and do yourself, right? Like, do you find that your role often is got in the role of guide, like you're trying to elevate others or educate others? Is that the role you're playing?
I feel like and when I mentor my team, that's one of the hardest pieces I think for managers and leaders as they grow within their own career is you're used to being the doer when you start out. You are sort of doing the day-to-day work. The day-to-day changes as you grow in responsibility. I'm still doing work. The type of work looks a little different. Writing strategy, having conversations with board members, thinking more holistically about what do the next 3 years look like, and mentoring my team around, hey, as you become a director, a vice president, your day-to-day will start to change. So you start to delegate more to open up your headspace to think more strategically and also developing the people underneath you. Because for me, I look at my team as being sort of a representation of me. And I want to be able to develop and grow them so they can be successful. I've been very fortunate to have a lot of mentees in my life, and I've had a lot of great mentors who I still talk to. But why I bring up the mentees is, I've had mentees who they were interns when they first started, and I may have been a manager or a director, whatever it was. They're vice presidents now at other, makeup or beauty brands. And I love watching them thrive, but I get to call them now for advice, saying, hey, what are you doing at your brand that's winning here? Because I actually want to learn about that and maybe test it for here. So what was a mentor-mentee relationship can turn into a peer-to-peer relationship at some point, and those connections for me last forever. This is a relationship world.
Well, look, I'm sure you're getting calls too, and it's been a good year, and you earned it. But like, don't think I didn't see your Forbes 2024 entrepreneurial top CMO 50 list, which is pretty cool that you're on a list with Legos of the world and the Cotopaxi's of the world. And I mean, you've had to be, look, let's call it what it is. It's hard to be good when you have to be scrappy all the time, right? You're not 10,000 people, right? It's a much,
Yep.
it is there still an entrepreneur? So one, congratulations. That's pretty awesome. You feel good?
Yeah, yes, it feels amazing. It's you know me well enough. I don't do well with those things.
This is why I'm doing this.
I
This
know
is
why
why I'm
you're
like,
doing
does it
it,
feel
and I
good?
will turn bright red momentarily. It is I think my parents were more excited. It is I got more family texts than I expected because I didn't tell anybody. It is I'm very proud of the accomplishment, and again, I can't do what I do without an amazing team, who work for me and then around me and above me. And that having that sort of apparatus of support around you is really critical. Um, so I do feel very lucky. To me, I'm still at the beginnings of my career. I feel like I have so much more to give. Um, and it's been great. Like the ride's not over. This is like we're still on the roller coaster. We're still on the up here. But working on that entrepreneurial piece I loved that piece of it and that recognition because being a brand that is 23, 24 years old with still under 100 people and growing, 10 plus straight quarters of growth beyond category, that's a pretty remarkable feat. And it does start with the top, and Mary's been a great leader for that and giving us that freedom to do this work. And but I think what being entrepreneurial forces you to do as a leader and as a company is to make choices. You have to like hold the mirror up to yourself and say, are we making the right choices based on the resources of people and dollars that we have that will be not only the next best dollar spent, but the next best hour spent of our day? Because time is just as valuable as the dollars that we put into the business. And I think sometimes that gets lost in the conversation, because burnout is real. people wanting to make sure they have the right work-life balance is important. So part of my charge is to make sure that my team is surfacing back up to me where they're feeling overwhelmed, and how can I help reprioritize based on what's important to the organization.
I mean, in some ways, it's face set mindset for your own team, right? And
Exactly.
I have one of my little fancy keynote slides that I love. Actually, right around this time of year, it's an August September slide, which is funny to say it that way. But when I think companies start prepping for next year plans,
We're there.
right? So you're living it. Usually what happens is we start with goal set, like what is the goal we're trying to accomplish, and then from there it's like, oh, well, who has the skill set to pull that off?
Yeah.
And what usually gets left behind is the mindset. It's the mindset to fulfill both the goals and the skills. There's a lot of talented people, but if you're not feeling your best or you're not confident, the universe and the gravity of the world in an election year, and no, we aren't going there, right, could swallow us whole, right? And so
Yeah.
it's good to hear you say that you're operationalizing. You're not just putting this out in the universe, but Milani's actually you're focused on the mindset and the mind state of the people that are on your team.
I think that's when you do the foundational work of brand building, and we'll call it a brand footprint, call it a brand diamond, call it a brand whatever you want to call it, those tenets also have to resonate for the internal employees as well. If they're not living and breathing them, who are you fooling? Like it's gonna show through in the work that goes out there to the consumer.
This was the fundament. That is the fundamental reason. Talk about what you learned from a last life. The reason I left my last life of just agency was because I was getting, this, and these are facts. These are
Yep.
like, these are just facts. It's not poor me. That was, can you do this for this price? Became the code of every conversation. Hey, we think we're sliced bread. Can you do this for us at this price? Okay. Why sliced bread? Why at this price? Can I interview the culture? What? Can I interview the culture? Can you help me get a win or not? And I think when fear is winning inside of organizations,
Yep.
then you're not going to have one storyline thread. And what I love hearing about what the essence of Milani, it's like it's true on the inside. Like the mindset piece has to be there. It's confidence everywhere, and it's almost like a process to confidence that you're taking to the outside world, which is that's leadership as much as it is as anything else. So it's cool to hear.
I think it's important, as a leader, as you think about also not only your internal culture, but when you bolt on agency partners, they're not agencies, they're partners. And when I look at whether it's, a communications agency, a PR agency, a creative agency, whatever it is, yes, I love to look at the work that they do, but I want to understand what makes them tick internally. Like, what is their culture? Because their culture has to fit with our culture. And if that doesn't jive well, then you're going to inevitably have a tumultuous relationship. So, and the work will show that. So you have to be able to have open dialogue across agencies. I think everybody knows that I am a big proponent of everybody's in the sandbox together. We have one common goal. When we do operating planning with my team, all of my agency partners come along for the ride. This is not a us and them. This is a we, because we're all going to win this together. And you have to start talking. Yes, you all have your own budgets, and like, fine, that's the functional piece of this. But like, how are we operationalizing this together? Like that's how you win.
We've been jamming with Jeremy Lowenstein, who is my buddy. He's been a client. He's CMO of Milani. Can I go Milani, or do I have to say like the full name?
Nope, just Milani. We're good.
Milani Cosmetics. Look, change can be a very scary thing for a lot of people, right? And change can be there's little changes and there's big changes. Like when you come in, you're auditing. I'm sure you're auditing the media mix and you're looking at like what needs to change here. And
Having
you
everything.
right. So on the media side, it's been more specifically on the influencer side because you guys have done some cool stuff in the influencer space. And we talked about athletes, but I think there's stuff you're doing with chefs on
With Jeff
TikTok,
for fruit fetish, lip oil. Yep.
Yeah, so talk me through, do you deem these as experiments?
I think everything in marketing is an experiment. I think that there's always the tried and true, but I don't even know what tried and true means anymore. I was reading an article the other day that Gen Z no longer trusts influencers. So where's that going? Because influencers are media of their own now who require they get paid. Not all of them, but they all hope to be. At the end of the day, when we look at our influencer network, at my again, I go back to my team. My team lives and breathes this every day, and it is relationships. We want to bring in people around us who know the brand, speak our values, and can best represent Milani to their community. What was important for me when I joined and we were thinking about how we show up both digitally as well as in sort of the offline world in store was how do we tell the influencer stories or the what I'm going to call it quote air quote model stories that you see in store in a real way? Back in the day, you would just have models, and that's how you would see on a display on a wall. But who were they? Some of them were, yes, you would know who they were. They'd be celebrities or whatever. For us, we actually found consumers who were trying to grow their influencer networks and shot them for campaigns for in store, but then also use them to help bring their stories to life in social. Because again, it's a connected universe and a connected community that way. So that way you're seeing them in all of their daily lives. They're not just someone who sits in front of a camera getting shot for campaigns, but they actually live their life every single day. But everything's a test. Sometimes you end up hitting a wear out factor with a creator, or like you said, the TikTok chef series for fruit fetish lip oils was, look, I wanted to go to a category adjacency, and also what was the unique selling proposition of the product it was the addictive flavors. So we found chefs who could actually create recipes inspired by our lip oil. It just tests and learn. That's how you and giving your team the permission to do that, A, excites them, B, makes them better marketers, and C, you never know what you're going to get. So maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, and that's okay.
I think to wrap, I want to bring Mackenzie Lake Berman back to the mix, which is my
Okay.
my 8-year-old. You know, I think when you're successful and you kind of like get beyond just the features of the product, right? I always say market the creature, not the features, right? What's the creature? And
Yep.
when I think of Milani's creature, because you've sort of passed go on, you're giving me what I need as a consumer. The concept of beauty and talking about beauty in a way that's positive and healthy. I now imagine you have seen nuanced the data on. Maybe I'll just get cut to the chase. How can I prepare for her in her future and do it in a positive way with makeup and beauty in general? Like, what advice do you have for me with Mackenzie?
I've never been asked that before. It's a great question. I think encouraging self-expression and also be and self-confidence. Like makeup for me isn't about changing who you are. It's actually about embracing who you are and pulling that out of you. And I think that's why makeup continues to be a positive growth category for so many different brands and for people. And they just want to find like the consumers just want to find their community who has a shared value system for them. Look, at the end of the day, makeup is makeup. And you're going to have foundations, concealers, mascaras, lipsticks, lip oils, eyeliners. The categories in themselves have not changed. Yes, the formulas have changed. Yes, there are different qualities. Yes, there are different pigments. But giving her the freedom to find what fits for her and isn't about changing who she is, I think is most important, and giving her that support. Because we don't want people to change. This is just we're here to help them and make them feel their best self. And that's what the beauty world does best and has always done best at. And I think that's why when you look at the consumer product world, dare I say, the rest of the CPG historically marketing space used to look at beauty marketers as sort of the anomaly. They didn't understand us. And now they actually respect us for a very different reason, because we really do blend that the emotion with the science. Like, yeah, yes, there's art and science. This is emotion and science. Like, we have to understand the consumer, because we're helping them with their feelings, not just with the product benefits themselves. Yes, that comes along with it, but there is so much more, and this goes really deep inside their core. So that's why I think the beauty industry is just such a fascinating category to be a part of.
Well, I like the freedom that it gives us. And I can tell you, my wife and I, we talk a lot about, but with both of our kids, really, like, don't like, let's make sure we bring out their spark. Like, our job is to let the spark shine, right? Not dim the spark in any way. And
Yeah.
my daughter, there's a lot of spark. Let me tell you, there is a like, she's a free range daughter, which I'll take. I'll take it. I'll take it. We're not trying to diffuse that. All right, coming down the home stretch. Last two questions. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, number one, what is the most courageous thing you're navigating inside the company right now?
Inside the company. It's not what I thought you were going to ask.
I know.
I think it's actually, like, again, what does Milani look like for the next 3 years? That's a hard and courageous conversation to have. And what's needed for us to get there. Having those conversations openly, unapologetically, and honestly is really important for us as leaders. And bring your team along for that journey, because they have a shared ownership in that journey forward.
I think the question that you thought I was going to ask, I don't want to ask, not because I'm afraid to ask it, but because it's longer than a 10-minute
Okay.
conversation. What keeps you up right now? What are you afraid
That's
of right
also
now?
not what I thought you were going to ask.
Oh, okay.
I thought you were going to ask what was the most courageous thing I've done.
Well, that's the third
I
question.
was ready for that one. What keeps me up at night? I don't. I try to not let things keep me up at night anymore, because I also have to, like, recognize that this is work and I love what I do, but there's more to life. And I think that's an important piece that I always have to remind myself. Um, but as long as I love what I do, then that's all that matters.
When do you think you learned that lesson?
I actually don't know the answer. I think it's just evolved. I think it's something I always have to tell myself, and I would say probably this goes into what I thought was going to be the question of what was the most courageous piece of, and it was moving to San Diego, kind of sight unseen and not knowing a single soul there, was the most courageous thing I've done in, I'd say, the past few years. But I think what moving to California has done for me personally is helped me rebalance the work and the work life, because I think there is an East Coast mentality which I love, but we thrive in running a million miles an hour. And that does get me energized. But I think sometimes you have to recognize that it's okay to slow down for a minute and just pause and enjoy life, because it's going by faster than anyone actually expected it to. Which I did.
I lied. I was like, that's the last question, but obviously I'm gonna have one more. But maybe this is the most courageous thing I'll share on this podcast. See, I actually like, for me, that there really isn't more to life than courage. And I know that's, if you just if like we got cut off, you'd be like, what is Ryan talking about? But to me, the stories I love are courageous stories. The life I want my kids to live is a courageous life. I'm I'm so proud of my wife, who just rebirthed and like went back to school to become a therapist, and like got a really cool tattoo, by the way, to go with that.
That's
It's really
cool.
cool. Like, and so I I try to I'm always more energized when, and it could probably be really annoying for some people. I'm like, there's courage, there's courage, there's courage, right?
It's
But
good to be reminded.
right, to me, I'm trying to design a life. Like, this is what they taught us in marketing, right? Pick a lane, and then don't be unapologetic about not wavering from that lane.
Yeah.
So, but I understand what you mean by, hey, you got to find, it can't just, you can't just be work all day long. And like, you could lose yourself if you're not careful.
you got to look for also inspiration will come from somewhere else also. So you have to start expose yourself to the rest of the world and have some of that free time.
All right, listen, Mr. Top 50 Entrepreneur CMO list, which is awesome. How do you want to wrap the show?
One, by thanking you, because I think you've been a part of this journey for me. And I've been very grateful to have you a part of my personal and professional life for the past 5+ years, because having read your book, followed your journey, it gives me inspiration to continue to hold the mirror up and have those courageous conversations, with myself, but then with the people around me, because that is what makes us better people each and every day. And I think reminding ourselves that human connection is more powerful, and keep conversation going, because it's relationships that matter at the end of the day.
Well, I love that. Keep doing what you're doing. I guess I'll close with, and you're the case study for this. Like, there are times where you take a step back and you look at where fear may live, and fear of the unknown is a real thing. Like you said, moving to California, and you don't know what you don't know. Anyone that's thinking about being brave and taking a courageous step, it could be in your personal life, it could be at work, it could be you have an idea that you're terrified to present. Wherever there's fear, usually if you go through that fear on the other side is where courage lives. And I'll speak just for myself, and it sure seems like you're doing this too. Anytime we actually go through the fear and we have the courage to take action on something, I've always been happier on the other side. I've always come out happier on the other side. The pursuit of happiness, I think it's more the pursuit is happiness. You just have to put yourself in that position. Jeremy, thank you for being here, man. Keep doing what you're doing.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Courageous Podcast. If you enjoy the show, don't forget to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts so more people can find us. See you again next week.